So for example, if I go to Scotch, so the home page I normally bring up is us in the classroom, just so the kids always have that sort of sense of where we actually are. But over the top of that, I normally have my little topo map. So that's Scotch there, so we can at any point drop that down into 3D and actually see where we're going. So that's a really useful sort of thing to be able to do, to see topo maps in quite a different way. Sort of makes sense of a topo map more if you can put it in 3D. So that's a useful sort of thing to do, sort of as an overlay. And depending on what we're doing, so here's a Goya one for example, you can also use it to be showing quite different things. So if I zoom out here, I think I was doing this one when you were here, the Goya thing.
That was your presentation that you talked about.
Yeah, so I think you saw probably some of that. So for example, using Google Earth here, so we're looking at rainfall differences across Australia.
Yeah, that was incredible.
I can look here at the rainfall, because I've gone and put it in, and look at those that are over 250 millimetres or those that are under. And there are the towns, and we've got the information written on it so that we actually know what's going on. Or we could then look at towns in the South Australia which had actually collapsed. These are now ghost towns. And we can also, and we've broken those down also into terms of when towns were settled. So I can do something like, I can show you the towns in Australia. So I've just gone down too fast here for my good. So this is the sequence of a settlement. So pre-1860, 1861 to 70, of course you can zoom in more. So having proved that there is a pattern of settlement, and that in most places that was when they went, then we can connect that to the failed towns and see an absolute connection. And again, if you zoom in any of those, you'd make a lot of sense. We've also used Google Earth by doing trips and such like. So when we've gone somewhere, like looking at the lower lakes, so before we go, we check where we're actually going to go, and then we have an excursion, and then we keep track of exactly where we were and what we did when we were down there. Yeah. So we take the GPSs with us, and Google Earth will give you an idea of where you actually were at any given time. So we can then take the photographs and actually compare where we were. So here we were at so here, so if I move this one, which is the time sequencer, I can actually see which is a useful thing to be able to do. And that time sequence one is actually, that was the whole boat trip we actually did, which is a good thing. You can also use the time sequence one if you're doing something like, as an example, New York would be the best example because it's easy to find. I'll just show you. So if you go to New York, for example, oops, New York. So there's New York there, and zoom in on that area there, just as an example. And then you go down here to historical imagery. You can actually start to go right back and say, what did it actually look like in 1974, for example? And it'll come up. Or 78, so there it was in 1978. This is the same area, there it was in 1994, and you can actually start to make really good comparisons of urban development and street patterns and all sorts of things. So that's a really, that's a growing thing. And as you get more into our time frame, there's a lot more information actually there. So another thing that we've done with it is that we will look at, we'll have quizzes. Oh, I've changed this one to geocaching. A geocache is where we actually had fun at the school, and we bury things around the school and made the kids actually go and try and find them in the correct sequence, which they had done. And on here, I can actually track which kids in which group did the best, the fastest time, and overlay the tracks to actually work out the pattern where they've actually gone. So that's a useful thing. The quiz, so for example, famous shadow. So what I'll do is I'll show, to check that kids can actually look at photographs carefully. So I'll give them information. The net's not working too fast just now here, but I'll wait for this, see what's going to come in. This, in fact, so it's the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. I don't know why we're not getting the net access. Too many people are using it just now. So, but you can see here, I've got where is this? What are these? This is a graveyard for something, and it's aircraft. So things are picked out around the world to make the kids look at areas around the world with more interest.